Hello, this is Mortvana. I just recorded this, but it was too stuttery, so I'm recording it again. This is the first Thaumic Revelations discussion progress video thing with the mana beans and the sheep. We need to share him. We need to share our shapes. Um, and this shimmer leaf and this V shroom. Let's get high on it. Oh yeah, buddy. Yeah, you get high by just standing on a V shroom. Anyway, yeah, I went over all of this and then yeah. Well, so let's get started and not dawdle. So, this is a progress thing for Thaumic Revelations, my Thaumcraft 4 add-on. Now, before you say Thaumcraft 4, blah, 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 why don't you update to... still feeling a bit wobbly from that V-shroom. Why don't you update it to 1.12.2 or whatever. Whatever Thaumcraft 6 is for, currently. 1. I enjoy 1.7.10. I'm used to it. And Rotarycraft is, and all of Reika's mods are still for 1.7.10, and I'm a big fan of Reika's mods. That and Thaumcraft 6 has changed things. Some for the better, some not a huge fan of, unfortunately. But, you know, what some of the things I dislike are not the new features, but rather removal of some of the old features. Most notably, I haven't actually played around with it, but the removal of wands, it just doesn't feel right to me. I mean, ever since Thaumcraft 3, Thaumcraft has had wands, and Thaumcraft 4, that's just what I view Thaumcraft as, you know? That's because Asnor actually has given me permission to use Thaumcraft stuff in the book series I'm writing. That's basically what most of Thaumcraft, like most of what thaumaturgy is in my book series, plus, of course, the stuff I add in Thaumic Revelations. Some of which actually will come from my book series. Yeah. I need to work more on writing my book series. But, you know. Anyway, let's get started, shall we? So, we have lots of ingots. They are actually colorized using the vanilla system because Drolkus is a busy man, busy cyborg, because cyborgs are neat. Because the cochlear implants makes him a cyborg, and not one of those Barry Dillon type cyborgs. No, the cool kind of cyborg. Yes, I'm watching Archer because Archer is a great show. So you got your ingots, your dusts, and your nuggets, which have Drolkus textures. Then, oh, and your blocks, also Drolkus textures. Then your tiny dusts, which is me modifying a Drolkus texture. And your plates, which is me trying to make a Drolkus texture, but being not particularly great at, you know, the whole texturing thing. Then, of course, and so there's these 53 metals, which, yeah, 53 metals. Although I'm warp effects, yay! Um, I'm thinking of adding a 54th. Then we've got the 9 gems that I'm gonna add, at least 9. The fluonic sapphire, the fluonic pyroptase, which is pyropdioptase and fluonic sapphire smashed into one gem, as well as the awakened Wardenic crystal are not implemented yet, nor are the shards and tiny dusts of any of it. Well, actually, those are implemented, they just don't have textures except for the activated. That doesn't exist yet. Anyway. And then, a few more. Some compatibility dusts. I haven't only the main metals and gems I've localized the tiny dusts of, and blocks for all of it, and a void metal block, which I know Witching Gadgets adds one, but in case for some reason you don't have Witching Gadgets, we add a void metal block. It will automatically disable crafting if you have Witching Gadgets. All crafting to it is disabled, but you can still craft it back to ingots. And you can craft it back to ingots and then craft the Witching Gadgets version, And then all of the stuff that has textures that isn't the Warden Cloth armor. Now, Warden Cloth armor, I have made spliced together, armor things, but there is not a texture for wearing it yet. I'm basically gonna splice that together eventually, and it's basically just splicing leather armor and the thaumaturge's robes together, which of course gets you the texture for Warden Cloth armor, which is the tier 1 Wardenic armor, yeah, because there are now going to be 5 tiers of armor. Tier 1 is basic, starting to dabble in that area. 2 is, okay, I'm feeling comfortable. This is, still early game, but early game in as much as, say, now, early game with the modern definition, basically. As in, a basic thermal expansion setup type early game. Mid game, which is the time you've got, let's say, if we're going with the thermal expansion analogy, that's the time you're starting to make, say, the redstone flux ducts, the ones with electrum, and the destabilized redstone. Then tier 4, ooh, obelisky. The obelisk. Ooh, spooky. The tier 4 would be like making your whole it would be making tesseracts and all that at a decent speed. And, of course, Tier 5 is endgame. Now, I actually have a Tier 6, 7, and 8 planned for a long way down the line. There we go. So it'll always be daytime. But those won't come around for a while. Basically the Tier 6 will just be a slight improvement over the Tier 5, but allow you to mix two of the sets of armor, excluding the Wardenic and the Eldritch together, because basically you can mix each set of armor with the Flux armor. Except, of course, the Flux, because that's already Flux, so, Because there's going to be the Wardenic armors, the Magneturgic, which is the Redstone Flux-based armors, and the Eldritch armors. And there's actually going to be tools to go along with them eventually. And then, of course, Tier 7 is mixing them all together with a few additional magic things, mostly some blood magic stuff to create, and maybe some maybe just Botanian blood magic to create that creates the primordial armor. Then, a bunch of endgame stuff, including the Thaumic Tinkerer Kami robes that are basically the red matter armor, the upgraded red matter armor from Equivalent Exchange 2, and bedrock armor from Rotary Craft and all that. Basically, you make the super armor that says, "Ha! I laugh at the flux-infused jet plate from Simply Jetpacks." The armor that that says, "I laugh at balance." Oh, stood on another V-shroom. I don't suggest that myself, kids. Standing on V-shrooms. Anyway. And there's going to be 2 Tier 4 armors. Basically, there's going to be one that's more combat-oriented and one that's more, V-discount oriented. Which, in Magneturgy, the lines between that kind of gets blurred because, Anyway. So, yeah. Currently I only have the Tier 1 armor textured, but I have the first 4 tiers implemented except for the Silverwood robes, which those will be implemented later. Because, yeah. So, how about we go over things? So, we have ores, 15 of them. Chalcocite, which is copper, sphalerite, which is zinc, cassiterite, which is tin, millerite, which generates in the nether, which is nickel, native silver, which is silver, obviously, galena, which is lead, xenotime, which I'll come back to later, it's yttrium phosphate, wolframite, which is tungsten, iridosmium, which is iridium and osmium and generates in the nether, bismuthinite, which is bismuth, tenantite, which is arsenical bronze, tetrahedrite, which is antimonial bronze, pyrope, generates in the nether, and it's a gem, as is dioptase, which generates in the overworld, as will fluonic sapphire, which, working name because I can't very well call it metabelous sapphire, because, like, yes, yes. You see in the first video I made a whole thing about, you know, the episode from the 70s, the season 11 of classic Doctor Who episode, Planet of the Spiders, the last episode with John Pertwee as the Doctor, before he regenerated into Tom Baker, and something about, and all about the metabelous sapphires and whatnot, but, you know, if you, and, you know, the fluonic sapphire, just a working name. I personally would like to change it, but, you know. And because fluon radiation is what they emitted, and that's actually what killed the Third Doctor. Then World Gen. And besides that, you've got the Excubitera Rose. It was Exubitera Rose, and it was also Exubitor, which the proper Latin is Excubitor. So I changed Excubitor to Excubitera and Rose. Then Wild Cotton and Wild Thistle. I need to fix the localization for this one. Along with untextured, I have Shiver Pearl, Storm Pearl, and Stone Pearl, which, of course, are the water, air, and earth pearls, because Cinder Pearl doesn't get all the fun, right? Yeah, my hair. And then I have reeds planned that basically are the pearls, but it turned into reeds through thaumaturgy. Yeah. Then, of course, I have woods, impregnated great wood, corrupted great wood, and hardened silver wood. Basically, you smear the Excubitera paste on great wood to get it impregnated. Corrupted, it's with the Eldritch stuff that's going to come, and then hardened silverwood is just smelting a silverwood plank. And then for stone blocks, which of course has both of the quartzes, because I added a second quartz, is Wardenic Obsidian, Eldritch Stone, then there's going to be the Thaumic Stone from Thaumcraft 3, which I'm going to use for some things, and two kinds of brick. But you see Wardenic Obsidian, if I scroll here, wait, no, that's too far. It's here. There we go. Wardenic Hardening Compound. If you do this, lava, Wardenic Hardening Compound in hand, throw it in, it gets you Wardenic Obsidian. And that's how you're going to get, you know, Wardenic Obsidian, which is useful. I will probably, you know, see if I can make it so I'll figure out, you know, I don't know exactly how I'm going to do it, but, you know, I'm going to make it so that you can just right-click on it, you know, just, bloop. I'm right-clicking, but you can't see because I'm not, you know, got nothing in hand. How about this? You know, just right-click on the lava and, you know, turn it, using up the hardening compound. Because, you know, Coin of Fortune from Xeno's Reliquary, love that thing, but it can make things like that not particular, like world-dropping mechanics, not, you know, the most what's the word I'm looking for here? Easy to do. Because you have to turn off the coin and all that. It's a whole big deal. Anyway. Yeah. So yeah, storage blocks currently don't have textures for these ones, so that it just uses the grayscale one used by all the metal blocks. And how about we go over the components? Cotton, which the texture was done by a guy in the Thaumic Revelations Discord by the name of Asdroth. Then cotton fiber, which I haven't textured yet. Cotton fabric, it's recolored, you know, enchanted fabric. Treated cotton fabric. Enchanted cotton fabric, which will be the enchanted fabric but with cotton and used in some things. That'll be nice. Thistle leaf, which of course is the cotton is dropped from the cotton thistle leaf, along with thistle flower is dropped from thistle. Not sure exactly what I'm going to do with those yet, but I have ideas involving stuff. Arcane Singularity, which, of course, currently I have the particles off because I'm going to use the whole COFH style particles because they're much more efficient computationally. Basically, it's just glorified alumentum at this point. However, you know, it's just because I don't want to see this. No one wants to see that. No one wants to see a giant hole in the ground. You know, I'll make it do something nifty eventually, but, you know. Currently, it's just glorified alumentum. Then the stabilized singularity, which you won't be able to throw, but the stabilized singularity will be used in crafting things. Animated piston. Yes, as you can see, some old Thaumcraft 2 things. I modified the Eldritch Cog because I'm going to use the original texture for something else. Aspect Orb Receptor for the Aspect Orb system, which is basically the Thaumic Warden aspect system, but better. There's going to be 7 types of orbs I have planned, which includes the creative. There's the V-powered, which runs on V. Essentia runs on Essentia. The Sanguine runs on Blood Magic Life, you know, from your Soul Network. Fluxed, which runs on Redstone Flux, obviously. Primal, which runs... Basically, it doesn't require anything. It slowly builds up a charge. But, of course, the downside is that it runs out of energy pretty quickly. And, of course, a chromatic one, which is going to be Chromaticraft integration, yeah? And then, of course, there's lots of enchanted wood stuff. There's great wood shafts, enchanted great wood planks, enchanted great wood shafts, densified silver wood, which basically you take a silver wood log in a device I have planned called a Thaumic Hammer Mill, which runs on alumentum, and it just squeezes it down into this, which of course we'll get to how it's used next. Then enchanted silver wood plank, very simple. Then the densified silver wood plank, which is enchanted densified silver wood plank, but then consecrated silver wood plank, which is that's all consecrated, and then shaft for both enchanted silver wood and consecrated silver wood. Thaumic bronze chain, which is going to get used for making Thaumic bronze armor, and then you can also use that to make the tier 2 Wardenic armor. Seeds for everything, the Excubitra, cotton, thistle, then Shimmerleaf, Cinder Pearl, Shiver Pearl, Storm Pearl, and Stone Pearl. All of the, Wodenic stuff. You got your Excubitra Petal, from the Excubitra Rose. Excubitra Paste, which is just... I have the recipes disabled for my stuff currently, because I'm working out bugs, but I think it's just 2 petals in a bowl. Then Excubitra infused cloth, rub that on some cloth, wooden cloth, drop that in a crucible with some aspects. The Excubitra petal oil you get from the Excubitra petal slurry, which is 4 of these in a phial, or maybe it's just a glass jar, I'm not sure, but you process that into the petal oil. Then, Wodenic Bronze Chain, which is the bronze chain plus things, or you can make it out of Wodenic Bronze. Primal Bronze Chain, that with a Primal Charm on it and stuff. Purified, which is the Tier 3 petal oil. Then Wodenic Steel Chain, Oiled Wodenic Steel Chain, which is putting the oil on the chain. Detailed Wodenic Steel Plate, Runic Wodenic Steel Plate, Consecrated Wodenic Steel Plate, for making the Tier 3 armor. Infused Wodenic Quartz, drop a whole block of quartz in a crucible with some aspects, and that gets you what's used to make the Wodenic crystals now. Then fitted, detailed, runic, consecrated, primal Wodenic plates. The awakened Wodenic crystal needs to be put into basically between these two. And then the Wodenic hardening compound I showed you what it does. The sets of... Then basically let's, go over the metals. You have copper, zinc, tin, nickel, silver, lead, tungsten, bismuth. Basically those you just smelt from the ore. Now, lutetium, neodymium, and leftover lanthanides you get from basically processing the lanthanide ingot you get from, smelting xenotime. And lutetium and neodymium are both useful. Iridium, along with osmium, you get from processing iridosmium. Palladium, you're going to get from millerite ore, in addition to nickel, in very small amounts. Same with platinum, if platinum exists, which I might actually make a backup just in case it doesn't. Because why not? Then brass, simple zinc, copper, bronze, simple tin, copper, arsenical bronze. You spent your tinantite, or you take your copper and your arsenic. Antimonial bronze, you take your antimony and your copper, or you smelt your tetrahedrite. Bismuth bronze is actually not a bronze. It's brass and bismuth and copper to, Or you can just use bismuth, copper, and zinc. You don't have to go through brass. Mithril, which is registered as arseno-antimonial bronze because that's what it is, and, so that there's not the whole cobalt thing that happened with Thermal Tinkerer, because my cobalt was registered as cobalt, and then I had to change it to natural cobalt because people could make Tinker's Construct tools out of it. That's just arsenical bronze and antimonium bronze. Aluminium bronze is copper and aluminium. Very, very simple. And of course it's 3 and 1 as opposed to the other way around. Although there will be a config option to try and rectify, all of the Tinker's Construct stuff to just use it. Config option, disabled by default, all that. Cupronickel obviously copper plus your nickel. Then riftish bronze, which of course is all of the previous alloys, in that it requires bronze, bismuth bronze, mithril, aluminium bronze, and cupronickel. Because of course brass is included within bismuth bronze, and these two make up mithril. Constantan, just for, immersive engineering integration for my system, but just as a backup in case, Invar, same for thermal foundation. Electrum we actually need. Obviously, Constantan is copper and nickel, but in a different ratio in Invar. Iron and nickel. Electrum, you got 1/2 silver, 1/2 gold. Wardenic metal is a mix of metals used for the Wardenic composite. Dull red solder is basically a base metal used for red solder, and arcane red solder. Red solder is basically a material that's going to be used for very low end in the whole throughput department, RF cables and whatnot, in future projects, that is. Of course, just here for why not. Thaumic electrum, which is, you take your electrum, you drop it in a crucible, all that. Thaumic riftish bronze, same with riftish bronze. Steel, created using the infernal blast furnace that I have planned. I know which Engadgets has one, but mine will be different and actually have, there's going to be little things you can put on the sides and whatnot that besides just bellows. It'll be neat. Void brass, which is made in the runic infuser. Void steel, which is going to be created. There's going to be a temporary recipe until I get the stuff to make void steel and void tungsten implemented. Void cupronickel is going to be similar to void brass, except, used in making some add-ons for like the Shadow Forge and whatnot, which the Shadow Forge is what's going to make void steel. But, and you're going to have to upgrade it to make void tungsten. Wardenic bronze, which is, Wardenic bronze. It's bronze plus some, basically it's Thaumic bronze with some of the Excubitra petal oil. Wardenic steel is infusion crafted with the pure oil and some pinches of Salus Mundus. The Riftish bronze, Wardenic one, is the same, except of course with Riftish bronze. Wardenic composite, basically you take the Wardenic metal ingot on the bottom, the Wardenic steel on top, and the Wardenic Riftish bronze in the middle, and you get, an ingot, but you do that with nuggets, so. And then you smelt that to get the composite ingot. These are 4 are for the Wardenic stuff. These 8 are for the Magnetourgic stuff, which is the RF Thaumic stuff. You got arcane red solder, used to make tier 1 stuff, the flux robes, red bronze, tier 2 stuff. But that's because you make it into hardened red bronze, used for that, which, basically is red bronze. Basically, arcane red solder, instead of using just regular redstone, on the dull red solder, you use a kind of Thaumic redstone, like Thaumically enhanced redstone. You use a more Thaumically enhanced redstone with the Thaumic Riftish bronze to make red bronze. Then you treat it with arsenic and some other things to make hardened red bronze. Flux steel is going to be actually a lot like Wardenic steel. Fluxed tungsten is going to be much the same, but, you know, the tier 4 stuff instead of tier 3. Flux tungsten is going to be used to make magnetar turgid composite, which you then fix into the fluxed composite. And the tier 5 version is the resonant flux composite, which I want to make be basically lines the color of Endarium, which is actually the opposite color. I mean, the saturation and the, you know, the LU is the same, but it's the exact opposite hue. So, you know, I think that'd make it look nice. Empowered void brass ingot, which is used for tier 2 eldritch stuff, crimson thaumium for tier 3, and void tungsten for tier 4. I don't know how you're going to make those yet. That's further down the line. And yes, you know, nuggets of everything, plates of everything, dusts of everything, tiny dusts of everything, storage blocks of everything. You can guess how those are made. Tiny dusts are like nuggets to dusts. We all know how ingots and nuggets interact. Plates are made in the Thaumic hammer mill. Then lanthanides you get from smelting the xenotime. Leftover lanthanides you get, this is basically the stuff that's not extracted, the mix. It'll get used. Basically, you hold on to it because eventually, when I work on Project Flux Gear again, that you'll be able to use these up. Iridosmium is what you get if you cook iridosmium, but you see, yeah, I'm not sure if I said this in this video, but wolframite and iridosmium being refractory metals, well, iridosmium being iridium and osmium, both refractory metals, and tungsten's a refractory metal, you can't smelt them in a regular furnace. Thaumic bronze, you know, alloy thing. Osmium lutetium alloy, which, yes, that is a reference to Fringe, but with my own spin on it. You know, that's just 4 parts osmium, 3 parts lutetium. I believe it's 1 part tungsten and 1 part neodymium. You know, not sure if I went over the compat dusts. There's going to be one for void metal too. Crushed shards. Neat. A pinch of Salus Mundus, which is a tiny dust version of Salus Mundus. And yeah. So besides that, there's raw ingots of the various alloys. For Thaumic bronze and osmium lutetium, those coated versions, which basically you put a ceramic coat with stuff that would just get off of the ingot. You put that on the ingot and then put a ceramic coat on. Basically, is the logic behind it. And of course, you fire it, and the ingot then is, you know, cooked inside. Of course, it's going to be probably a Thaumic ceramic, because otherwise it would, you know, it would crack. But this way, it won't crack. Then you crack it after it's fired, and then you process the slag. Those carbon, ceramic, Thaumic, and fluonic slags that you can process into things. And the basic, some of the slags, you know, you actually need to use to make some of the high-end bricks that are used to make devices. Then, of course, we have clusters, you know, we have one for zinc, nickel, xenotime, tungsten, iridosmium, bismuth, tinantite, and tetrahedrite, as well as one for aluminium and one for platinum. Well, and the one for nickel, but because we have our own nickel. So we also cover thermal foundation in that, and technically immersive engineering. So yay! I know Witch and Gadgets does too, but just in case you don't have Witch and Gadgets. I'm gonna add sulfur and saltpeter. I just haven't added saltpeter yet. Primal essence. Not exactly sure how we're gonna craft it, but it's gonna be used for stuff, which is neat. Wardenic binder used in making tier 4 Wardenic stuff. And then we have all of the armor, which of course we've got the Warden Cloth armor. And then the tier 2 is the Thaumic, not the Thaumic Bronze, the Wardenic Bronze chain armor. The chest is called mail because that's what a chest of chain is called, mail. Not chain mail because that's redundant, and plate mail is not a thing because that's, no. Anyway, then Wardenic steel, well, plate armor, then Wardenic composite plate armor, There's also the Thaumic Bronze chain armor, and a set of primal robes, which basically they're just like the regular Thaumaturge's robes, except they slowly recharge their held wands. This is because you decided, hey, I have got a good idea. How about I strap some primal charms to my armor? And basically that works, and it's neat. And then of course the purity focus, which I need to get working. I forget if it crashes the game or just doesn't work whatsoever, but it does something wrong, and I need to fix that. It won't be actually usable for a few versions, so sorry. Then of course the basic, the amulet and the Ring of Love from Thaumic Warden, and that's basically everything I have currently, things I have planned, and so I hope to do another one of these in a few weeks, so stay tuned, and so thanks for watching, bye.